and ensuring sustained economic development. This is the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. On April 19, 1886, three of the largest Spanish companies in Manila formed the Cámara de Comercio de Filipinas. Following the downfall of the colonial Spanish government, the popularity of La Cámara waned, and a new organization of Filipino and Chinese mestizo businessmen established the Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, CCP, in 1903. Barely half a century after, a group of industrialists founded the Philippine Chamber of Industries, PCI. On July 1, 1978, the two chambers merged, giving birth to the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, PCCI. In September of the same year, PCCI was recognized as the country's single voice of business through Presidential Letter of Instruction 780. After more than a century, the Chamber continues to chart the course of economic development in the country. Lending its voice to the government, PCCI continues to be at the forefront to influence public policies in the areas of agriculture and food security, banking and finance, capital market development, energy and power, water utilities, environment, formal and technical vocational education, infrastructure development, intellectual property and innovation, international trade, local economic development, taxation, SME support services, tourism, and transportation and logistics. Covering business comprehensively to ensure the business expansion and country's future growth and progression through its partnership with the government, local chambers, and other stakeholders. PCCI's programs and services include enhancing business environment, SME development, environmental protection and management, corporate social responsibility, national and countryside development, business services, access to local and international training programs and scholarships, publications, breaking grounds with pioneering minds. PCCI is a dynamic force that offers its members fresh new ideas, new choices, and creative new approaches. From only a handful before the turn of the century, the PCCI family has grown to more than 1,600 direct members, more than 100 industry associations, more than 100 local chambers, and around 35,000 SMEs nationwide. To ensure alignment of its advocacies and activities, the PCCI works closely with government, other business groups, donor organizations, and international agencies, as well as the academe. The PCCI also provides a platform that links local firms with the global business community. PCCI also engages foreign chambers, diplomatic corps, international agencies in search of broader trade and economic cooperation. The Philippine Business Conference and Expo is the most important annual activity of the PCCI and one of the most prestigious events in the country. Local and foreign companies wanting to establish new ventures or seeking new markets find it highly attractive to attend due to the many benefits it offers. Every year, more than 800 stakeholders attend the conference, composed of key government officials, business leaders, diplomatic corps, foreign chambers, multilateral donor agencies, PCCI corporate members, bilateral business councils, local chamber and industry association leaders. With resourcefulness, ingenuity, collective ideas, and strength, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry remains steadfast in its principles of business growth and development. Pioneering, innovating, and trailblazing. The Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry will remain as that. One voice of business in the country.
Navigate your business through uncharted territories. Explore innovation and technological advancement. Learn from the government and the country's top business leaders. Transform to a high-income economy. Enhance enterprise performance. Leverage technology and innovate to advance. Improve your business during and beyond the pandemic. Join our two-day National Business Conference. We are the voice of Philippine business. The 46th Philippine Business Conference and Expo, Innovation at PH, October 7 to 8, Marriott Hotel Grand Ballroom. navigate your business through uncharted territories. Explore innovation and technological advancement. Learn from the government and the country's top business leaders. Transform to a high-income economy. Enhance enterprise performance. Leverage technology and innovate to advance. Improve your business during and beyond the pandemic. Join our 2-day National Business Conference. We are the voice of Philippine business. The 46th Philippine Business Conference and Expo. Innovation at PH. October 7 to 8. Marriott Hotel Grand Ballroom.
Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the voice of Philippine business. Established by a dynamic group of individuals with strong leadership presence and passion for business and economic development. An influential alliance of business leaders providing policy directions to government and ensuring sustained economic development. This is the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. On April 19, 1886, three of the largest Spanish companies in Manila formed the Cámara de Comercio de Filipinas. Following the downfall of the colonial Spanish government, the popularity of La Cámara waned, and a new organization of Filipino and Chinese mestizo businessmen established the Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, CCP, in 1903. Barely half a century after, a group of industrialists founded the Philippine Chamber of Industries, PCI. On July 1, 1978, the two chambers merged, giving birth to the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, PCCI. In September of the same year, PCCI was recognized as the country's single voice of business through Presidential Letter of Instruction 780. After more than a century, the Chamber continues to chart the course of economic development in the country. Lending its voice to the government, PCCI continues to be at the forefront to influence public policies in the areas of agriculture and food security, banking and finance, capital market development, energy and power, water utilities, environment, formal and technical vocational education, infrastructure development, intellectual property and innovation, international trade, local economic development, taxation, SME support services, tourism, and transportation and logistics. Covering business comprehensively to ensure the business expansion and country's future growth and progression through its partnership with the government, local chambers, and other stakeholders. PCCI's programs and services include enhancing business environment, SME development, environmental protection and management, corporate social responsibility, national and countryside development, business services, access to local and international training programs and scholarships, publications, breaking grounds with pioneering minds. PCCI is a dynamic force that offers its members fresh new ideas, new choices, and creative new approaches. From only a handful before the turn of the century, the PCCI family has grown to more than 1,600 direct members, more than 100 industry associations, more than 100 local chambers, and around 35,000 SMEs nationwide. To ensure alignment of its advocacies and activities, the PCCI works closely with government, other business groups, donor organizations, and international agencies, as well as the academe. The PCCI also provides a platform that links local firms with the global business community. PCCI also engages foreign chambers, diplomatic corps, international agencies in search of broader trade and economic cooperation. The Philippine Business Conference and Expo is the most important annual activity of the PCCI and one of the most prestigious events in the country. Local and foreign companies wanting to establish new ventures or seeking new markets find it highly attractive to attend due to the many benefits it offers. Every year, more than 800 stakeholders attend the conference, composed of key government officials, business leaders, diplomatic corps, foreign chambers, multilateral donor agencies, PCCI corporate members, bilateral business councils, local chamber and industry association leaders. With resourcefulness, ingenuity, collective ideas, and strength, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry remains steadfast in its principles of business growth and development. Pioneering, innovating, and trailblazing. The Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry will remain as that, one voice of business in the country.
Navigate your business through uncharted territories. Explore innovation and technological advancement. Learn from the government and the country's top business leaders. Transform to a high-income economy. Enhance enterprise performance. Leverage technology and innovate to advance. Improve your business during and beyond the pandemic. Join our 2-day National Business Conference. We are the voice of Philippine business. The 46th Philippine Business Conference and Expo, Innovation at PH, October 7 to 8, Marriott Hotel Grand Ballroom. Navigate your business through uncharted territories. Explore innovation and technological advancement. Learn from the government and the country's top business leaders. Transform to a high-income economy. Enhance enterprise performance. Leverage technology and innovate to advance. Improve your business during and beyond the pandemic. Join our 2-day National Business Conference. We are the voice of Philippine business. The 46th Philippine Business Conference and Expo, Innovation at PH, October 7 to 8, Marriott Hotel Grand Ballroom.
Good morning. Welcome, friends and guests, to the 29th Visayas Area Business Conference, which is now live on Zoom and on Facebook. Our theme for this online conference is Innovation During the Pandemic. This event is organized by the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry and hosted by the Cebu Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Please settle down as we begin shortly. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone of the conference and open forum guidelines. Mute your audio at all times. If you have any questions, kindly type it in the Q&A button, which can be found in the middle portion of the lower part of your screen. Make your questions concise and direct to the point. If you have questions for a specific speaker or panelist, kindly include their name in the question.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 29th Visayas Area Business Conference. The Visayas region has 20 local chambers and 3 regional governors and an area vice president. To start with, Region 6, Regional Governor Ronald Sol. Aklan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Ramel Bungkalan. Antique Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Vicente Lagunday. Boracay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Elena Brugger. Capiz Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dale Bernaz. Guimaras Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Neptune Pittman. Iloilo Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Jobert Peña Florida. Metro Bacolod Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Roberto Montelibano. Region 8, Regional Governor Wilson Uy. Baybay Leyte Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Nestor C. Greater Calbayog Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Davidas Murjani. PCCI Tacloban Leyte Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Eugene Tan. Ormoc Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Eileen Aviles. Palumpon Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Warblitz Martinez. Samar Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Ariel Donceras. Southern Leyte Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Gloria Reyes. Region 7, Regional Governor Ed Du. Bohol Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Reginald Ong. Mandaue Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Stephen Alain Yu. Negros Oriental Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Francisco Martinez. Panglao Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Angelina Huthman. Siquijor Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Arthur Chan. And the host for the 29th Visayas Area Business Conference, Cebu Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Felix Taguian, with our Area Vice President, Consul Samuel Chioson. Thank you very much.
The 29th Visayas Area Business Conference is one of the 5 area business conferences leading to the 46th Philippine Business Conference, chaired this year by Ms. Enonina V. Mangio. The annual Philippine Business Conference is a premier event of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry headed by its President Ambassador Benedicto V. Uvico and the members of the PCCI Board of Directors. Good morning. Welcome to the 29th Visayas Area Business Conference. Once again, good morning. Welcome to the 29th Visayas Area Business Conference, and I'm your virtual host, Nimrod Quinones. We will start with the invocation followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Let us all dedicate this time for prayer. As we say, in the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Lord God and Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to gather as a community through this Visayas Area Business Conference. Lord, we pray for all the members of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. As the voice of business, please guide PCCI's enterprises throughout this crisis as we continue to journey towards the road to recovery. Lord, we pray for all the speakers, moderators, panelists, and participants of VABC. Each of them will play a crucial role in our nation's recovery. With their circle of influence in their respective fields, may the audience be presented with unique insights that will further inspire progress. Father God, every person in our beloved Philippines is indeed burdened by the weight of this global crisis. With pressures piling and our news feeds buzzing with hate and fear, give us the wisdom, give us the discernment, give us the clarity, and give us the strength to fight these battles. May we lift up all these problems to you, O Father. Enlighten our minds and hearts, and guide our paths as we work together for the greater good, all according to your will. Lord, we pray for our families. We pray for our barangays. We pray for our cities and municipalities. We pray for our towns and communities. We pray for our provinces. And we pray for our nation. Teach us to be a people that care for one another. Teach us to love one another. Teach us to put our differences aside. May the spirit of bayanihan live within each and every one of us. At this juncture, we are also grateful to the committee and team members involved in organizing the 29th Visayas Area Business Conference. Thank you also to the Cebu Chamber of Commerce and Industry for being our hard-working hosts for today. On a final note, may we work as one. May we recover as one. May we heal as one. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen, amen, and amen. Take care, keep safe, and God bless everyone.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, tegas ang sinakalan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tula, kawin sa pagkayang minamahal, ang isang ng patawad mo'y tagun
to formally open the 29th Visayas Area Business Conference and to deliver its welcome message, may I call on the 43rd President of the Cebu Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who is currently the Area Vice President Visayas of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Chairman of the 29th Visayas Area Business Conference. Let us welcome Consul Samuel L. Choson to call this conference to order.
Hello.
Can we
Hello.
have Consul Samuel Choson? Your audio is okay.
Audio is okay. Okay.
Yes.
Ambassador Benedictos Yuico, President of PCCI. Maria Alegre Sibal Imhoco, Chairman of PCCI. George Barcelon, President Emeritus of PCCI. Honorable Carl Kenditi Chua, Secretary of National Economic and Development Authority. Honorable Leopoldo Domingo Petilla, Governor of Province of Leyte, Chairman RDC 8. Honorable Rodora Cadiao, Governor, Province of Antique, Chairman of RDC 6. Mr. Kenneth Copompoy, Chairman RDC Region 7. PCCI Board of Directors and fellow Area Vice President Gigi Simbulan of North Luzon, Darin Tobias of South Luzon, Delia Jimenez of National Capital Region, Grahe Algria of Mindanao, PCCI Vice Regional Governors, Ronald So of Region 6, Edward Du of Region 7, William Uy of Region 8. Linia Magno, Chairman of 46 Philippine Business Conference, fellow PCCI Visayas Chamber Presidents, officers, members from Region 6, 7, and 8. Our friends from various government agency, local government units, private sectors, representatives, fellow SMSE entrepreneurs, friends from academe and training institution. Ladies, gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to 29 Area Business Conference. By the power of vested in me as an Area Vice President of PCCCI, as a Chairman of 29 VABC, I hereby this conference to call to order.
Thank you very much, Area Vice President Samuel Choson. Now that we have officially opened the 29th VABC, here is something to give you an idea of what is in store for the next 2 days of this virtual conference.
The Visayas Area Business Conference is an annual event organized by the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, aimed to foster inclusive growth and enjoying the participation of the regional chambers, business membership organizations, non-government organizations, line agencies, the academe, and various stakeholders in the business community within Visayas and Mindanao. Theme Innovation During the Pandemic, the conference will highlight the various initiatives on repurposing, repositioning, resuscitating, and rebooting of businesses in the Visayas. In short, it is no longer business as usual. Creative entrepreneurs are switching up their game to stay viable during COVID-19. the economic picture is serious, but not hopeless. The 29th VABC conference is packaged to ensure substantive discussions, business community participation, and creating business through B2B network through a virtual platform. Moreover, the Sulong Pilipinas Conference will be conducted on the afternoon session of the first day. Sulong Pilipinas is the annual consultative conference between the Duterte administration and various citizen groups. Based on a 21st century town hall concept, the Sulong Pilipinas consultative workshops enable constructive and lively discussions between the participants, which would bring out the sharpest and most tractable ideas. So sit back and relax and enjoy the 29th Visayas Area Business Conference, hosted by the 2017 Philippine National Excellence Awardee, the most outstanding chamber in the Philippines Hall of Fame 1997, 2007, and 2013, the Cebu Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
To deliver the opening message, let us welcome the President of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Ambassador Benedicto V. Yuhuico.
Thank you very much, NEDA Secretary Carl Kendrick Chua, PCCI Area Vice President for Visayas, Consul Samuel Chioson, PCCI Regional Governors, Ronald So for Region 6, Edward Du for Region 7, and Wilson Nang for Region 8. Governor Leopoldo Domenico Petilla of the Province of Leyte and Chairman, Regional Development Council, Region 8. Governor Rodoro Acadiao of the Province of Antique and Chairman, Regional Development Council, Region 6. Kenneth Cobuntue, Chairman, RDC, Region 7. My colleagues in the PCCI Board and officers present here today, they are here actually in full force. I'm gonna read all of their names just to show you how supportive they are of the Visayas Business Conference. We have Chair Bing, we have June Cruz, we have George Barcelon, Fred Yao, Jess Varela, Boy Aure, Bert Phoenix, Juan Escueta, Don Benedicto, Nina Mangyo, Terry Ferrer, Ruben Pascual, Nora Racuna, and possibly some others that have joined recently. Officers and members of our very able host, Cebu Chamber, led by President Felix Taguiam, local chamber presidents and officers of the Visayas, good day to all of you. It is my privilege to be with you all today as we open the 29th Visayas Business Conference. At the outset, allow me to extend our congratulations to the organizing committee for putting together a very interesting and relevant line of topics and speakers. Our conference theme, Innovation During Pandemic, highlights the key to surviving the current challenges and unlocking possibilities for post-crisis growth. It speaks of the need to lay down a foundation that will create a strong push for technological advancement and innovation in governance. As I was listening to the Visayas Chamber Management Forum during last Monday, I was very happy that you have embraced innovation and that you are actively engaging or having our LGUs accountable as your important advocacy. Over the years, Visayas has emerged as one of the country's development hubs with its strong performance as a premier tourism destination and industrial and service center. Your most admired tourist attractions, beautiful islands that are among the best in the world, wonderful cuisines and cultures, traditions have triumphed over the adversities that have come your way. We have seen how the local economies that have been devastated by such catastrophes as Typhoon Yolanda that have heavily damaged Samar and Leyte, the earthquake that destroyed some of Bohol's historic churches, and the 6 months closure of the world-famous Boracay Island. Through all of this, Visayas has remained resilient thanks to the perseverance, hard work, and enterprising spirit of its people. PCCI shares the positive outlook of Central Visayas that with your hard work and perseverance, we will be able to recover from the economic crisis that we are currently experiencing. We have submitted several recommendations. Some have been heeded by our government, some were not, but we would like to provide an extra push for the following advocacies to support the recovery of businesses in the country. One, a recovery plan that provides stimulus for business confidence. We definitely need that. PCCI has been pushing for a holistic approach in opening up the economy that builds confidence for both business and consumers to participate in economic activities. COVID-19 is here to stay, and we need to learn to coexist with the virus. We cannot hide in our homes. We have to open up the economy because this is the only way we can start our recovery process. An important legislation that will help avert the economy from continuing to fall is the 1.5 trillion Arise Bill, or the Accelerated Recovery and Investment Stimulus. The tourism sector in the Visayas, which were badly hit by the pandemic, will benefit from this proposed measure. The CREATE, or the Corporate Recovery Act, and tax incentives for enterprises, which aims to lower the income tax, will also be a strong support towards the recovery. Number two, we need to accelerate the build. As NEDA has emphasized, infrastructure projects in the Visayas, such as the modern airport and the proposed Metro Cebu Expressway, will make the area more attractive to foreign investors, including those that might be leaving China because of the ongoing trade war between China and the US. The new container port, which will commence later this year, and other airports and seaports in the regions have been upgraded and will give an added boost to the attractiveness of the area for investors. We also need to enhance local business environment through accelerated agriculture development and support to the industrial resurgence by strengthening the supply chain. The pandemic has demonstrated the importance of the agriculture sector being the main source of food and raw materials to the manufacturing sector and income and employment to the rural population. PCCI is closely working with the Department of Agriculture by supporting its Plant program. Our Agriculture Committee is also committed to help the country achieve food security through its Aspire program. Aspire aims to provide farmers the right information on what to produce in order to meet the demands and requirements of the market. PCCI is also helping to reboot the economy by supporting local entrepreneurs and enterprises connect in the supply chain through the Pinas Muna advocacy, which aims to stimulate the growth of domestic consumption and jumpstart the economy by promoting local products, services, and tourist destinations. To push this initiative further, we will launch in October an e-commerce platform which will carry the brand Shop All. This platform will allow members of PCCI and local chambers to market their products and services online. As you may be aware, our network of potential sellers and market is significant since we have around 35,000 direct and indirect members nationwide. We also have advocacies, MOUs, MOAs with government transaction systems, such as what we have with ARTA, which plays a big role in the transformation to a digital economy. At this point, let me digress from the prepared text, and I want to be able to speak to you about what are very two important concerns that we have. You know, yesterday I had conversations with our resource person and most knowledgeable person in agriculture, Bobby Amores, and other of our board members. They have expressed concern about the very strong peso. Is a strong peso good for exports? No, makes our exports less competitive. Is a strong peso good for generating employment? I'll let you answer that. I think the answer is obvious. Is it good for agriculture development? I don't think so. A strong peso makes the import the price cheaper. So in any case, I am not going to mention anymore the consequences, the other consequences of the strong peso. However, to be fair, I want to ask the question, what is a strong peso good for? Well, you all have read in the newspapers that our currency is the best performing currency in Asia, including Japan. I don't know what that means. Do you? Well, we do. I'm just being facetious. It's an accomplishment, but how does it affect the workers who are unemployed, etc.? I don't know. It's also, a strong peso shows confidence of foreigners in our economy. Okay. I can't argue with that. A strong peso also reduces the cost of borrowing. All right, that's true also. Well, you know, there are no easy answers, particularly during this time of crisis. We have to examine very carefully. We have to strike a balance here. You know, I'm not gonna tell you that what the government is doing is wrong. It's not. There are positive points, and I'm not gonna tell you that a weak peso is the greatest thing in the world. It's not. But this is not the forum for us to argue strong or weak. I just want to ventilate that a strong peso is probably something that we have to think about very carefully and reconsider at this time. I am sure this will be a subject matter that will be discussed in the Sulong Pilipinas this afternoon. So I encourage you to please attend that. That is really, really important because the Sulong Pilipinas is a forum where we in the business sector, specifically PCCI, can funnel information and sentiment to the Department of Finance and eventually to the government so that they will have good information upon which to develop policies that is good for the country. I probably have gone over my time, but I just want to mention one more important thing, which is the petition of the Visayas Chamber to lower the threshold to 500 kilowatts from 750 kilowatts for electricity users in what they call the convertible market. Now, I think that you have contacted the Department of Energy, and the Department of Energy told you that hindi, kasalanan ng PCCI yan. Hindi namin pwedeng ibaba yung threshold from 750 to 500. Kasi ang PCCI, yung mga marurunong na PCCI last 2017, I believe, umingi ng injunction sa Supreme Court para mahinto yung gusto ng proposed regulation about this. Well, you know, unfortunately, that is not wholly correct. It's not incorrect. Alam mo, yung injunction did not mention any merit. Hindi pumasok sa merit yon. Ang sinasabi lang ng injunction that PCCI got is, huwag niyong pilitin na yung mga consumers over 750 bibili lang doon sa large power producers. In fact, one of the provisions I was told yesterday, Sam, alam mo, I called a special Zoom meeting with Mr. Alejandro, with Bert Phoenix, with Ruby and myself, because I know that today I'll be meeting with you, and you probably have been waiting for an answer sa PCCI. I must tell you that wala sa PCCI, hindi dahil sa injunction. I don't want to go into the details now, but I am with you in terms of allowing small consumers to choose kung saan sila bibili ng elektrisidad. But I am totally against yung mga provisions doon sa sinusubo nila na pag ikaw lumipat, you are a small electricity consumer, you choose to go to a small private retailer of power. Alam mo ba na there is a provision na hindi ka na pwedeng bumili doon sa big supplier. I find that objectionable. But again, as I said, hindi dapat itong forum na ito. But I thought that I would just mention those 2 points because I think it is relevant and it is very important. With that, I congratulate all of the officers and of PCCI Visayas, and I wish you great success in your noble endeavors. Maraming salamat po. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Yuwico. Now, to introduce our keynote speaker, let us welcome the President of the Cebu Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Felix Tagiam.
Good morning, everybody. PCCI President, Ambassador Benedicto Yuwico, PCCI Board of Trustees, Vice President for Visayas, Sam Choson, fellow CCI trustees, regional governors, distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, and business enablers. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Cebu Chamber of Commerce and Industry, it is with immense honor to formally introduce to you our esteemed keynote speaker for this morning's plenary session. Named one of the 10 most outstanding young men and women in January 2019 by the Junior JCs International Philippines. Our keynote speaker completed his BS in Management Engineering in Ateneo de Manila University, where he also became an assistant professor, lecturer of mathematics and economics. He completed his master's in economics in 2003 and PhD in economics in 2011 at the University of the Philippines School of Economics. Previously served as a consultant for several local and developmental partner-funded projects in the area of economic and fiscal policy. Our speaker later joined the World Bank for 12 years, from 2004 to 2016, where he eventually became the senior country economist for the Philippines, serving as advisor to the government on strategies and policies to attain more inclusive growth, the type that creates more and better jobs and reduces poverty. In his last 2 years in the World Bank, he spent 1.5 years working in Mindanao, where he led a team to conduct an in-depth research for the 2016 Mindanao Jobs Report that integrated the insights of government, business, labor, civil society, vulnerable groups who are often left out in the engagement process, such as indigenous people, Moro women, out-of-school youths, combatants, and internally displaced people. Our speaker then entered the government sector, where he was appointed the Undersecretary for Strategy, Economics, and Results Group in the Department of Finance. With he helped the government implement the 10-point socio-economic program by ensuring equitable and sustainable financing through comprehensive tax reform program. During his tenure in the DOF, he led the tax reform team to work with Congress to pass the tax reform for acceleration and inclusion, which we now call it the TRAIN law, which corrected the long-standing inequity of the tax system by reducing the income tax rates while providing funding for the government's Build program. Then, Undersecretary, he was also critical in the passage of the 3 pieces of legislation, increasing excise taxes on sin products such as tobacco, alcohol, and e-cigarettes to fund the Universal Health Care Program. With these 3 priorities upon being appointed in April 2020 amidst the 2019 COVID crisis, to include fast-tracking the national ID system, the economic recovery plan, and the Build program. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our NEDA Acting Secretary, Carl Kendrick Chua. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tagyam. Good morning to everyone, to Consul Chioson, and to Ambassador Yuiko, and to all the officials of the PCCI, the chairs of the Regional Development Councils, and distinguished guests. Good day to all of you. My presentation today is about the update on the economy, the recovery program, and what policy making entails, so that everyone will have a better understanding of what government thinking and processes are about. But before I go to the main presentation, let me first talk about 2 economic principles that I would like to suggest you memorize, you dream about, or even apply on your daily lives. The first is nothing is free from heaven. This crisis is going to require a lot of support for everyone, and the government will endeavor to fund that and provide all the support that it can. However, this money is not something that is dropped down from heaven, and we will have to raise that through current taxes or future taxes. The second principle that I would like to share is that everything is a trade-off. We cannot satisfy everyone. You will always have, as head of your household, a fixed budget. You will always have a fixed time and fixed resources. So you will have to make a decision on where to use all these scarce resources. Our vision for the Philippines was laid out very clearly in 2016 when President Duterte came into office. The vision is like this. By 2022, we will have reduced poverty rate from 21.6 to 14% of the population. That means 6 million Filipinos lifted out of poverty, and the poverty rate is around 70 pesos per person per day. And we would also like by 2022 to graduate to becoming an upper middle income country like Thailand, Malaysia, or China today. And by 2040, one generation later, we would like to see extreme poverty eradicated, meaning no one is hungry. And we would like to see the Philippines graduate from upper middle income to high income country status like Japan or South Korea today. That is the vision that we have put. The reality is that in 2018, we already achieved the 2022 target. The revised statistics showed that in 2015, poverty rate was 23.5% of the population. By 2018, the poverty rate fell significantly to 16.7% of the population. What that means is 6 million Filipinos were already lifted out of poverty in 2018 ahead of our 2022 target. And what is the reason for this? The reason for this is that we have been pursuing in a very focused manner our 10-point socio-economic agenda that was presented in 2016. And this is a product also of a number of consultations, including with members of the PCCI and other stakeholders. Whenever you see a green in this table or chart, that means that promise has been significantly achieved. And we are working on the remaining yellow ones, which are ongoing. We have achieved macroeconomic stability. We have done 4 packages of the tax reform. We have passed the ease of doing business law. We have increased significantly our infrastructure spending. We are beginning to put more money and resources and effort on agriculture, beginning with the rice tariffication. We are working on our land management. We have instituted the universal healthcare, and we will continue to improve the services. We have also achieved a number of innovations in science and arts, beginning with the Innovations Act. We have also pursued the National ID, which is now under preparation, that is supporting our social protection strategy. And we are also working towards our reproductive health law. So these are some of the reasons why we have seen significant progress in the first 4 years of the administration. In 2020 January, we have one of the best economic and development prospects in the world. Unfortunately, we did not anticipate, no one in the entire world saw that the COVID-19 virus would turn into a pandemic to disrupt almost everything in our daily lives. And in the first 100 days or 3 months, the priority was to save lives from COVID. And that is why we decided as a government to impose a number of quarantines. And the reason for that is really to prepare our healthcare sector so that we can save more lives. And some of the benefits that we have seen are that daily testing peaked at around 39,000 on August 7. Our testing capacity is around 84,000 around August 16. What that means is we can test 2 million per month. We have averted some 59,000 to 171,000 deaths compared to the actual deaths of around 3,000 today. And we have also averted some 1.3 to 3.5 million cases of which 68,000 would be the simultaneous number of cases during the peak day that would have overwhelmed our hospital system compared to the 200,000 cases that we see today because of the quarantine that we have put in place. Unfortunately, what that means also for a period of time, we have to shut down our economy. 75% of the economy was closed during the height of the ECQ. And the economy contracted significantly, unemployment increased, and the number of those without jobs was estimated to be around 7 million in the second quarter of 2020. That is why the government responded immediately with 655 billion peso worth of emergency support to support the poorest and also to help our healthcare sector fight COVID. And that included giving the biggest ever social protection program where 18 million low-income households received their 5 to 8,000 peso, and also some 3.1 million employees, small businesses, received also their wage subsidy. And many of you are beneficiary. Your workers have been beneficiary of this. The consequence, of course, because nothing is free and there's no perfect solution, is that we saw the biggest economic decline in recent history. In the first quarter, it was minus 0.7%. In the second quarter, it went down further to minus 16.5%. And this is really the trade-off that we are seeing as a result of our priority to save lives from COVID. Fortunately, because of some progress in our healthcare sector and also a better understanding of how everyone should be working together to avert this pandemic, the impact of the pandemic, we are now seeing some U-turn in manufacturing production and also in our exports. In fact, in the latest month of data in June, we saw positive exports to China as the Chinese economy improved. And all of these are giving us hope that over the coming months, we can slowly see the economy gradually recovering. Without doubt, the pandemic and its adverse economic impact are going to test the economy like never before. But unlike the past crisis, the Philippines is in a much better and stronger position to address the crisis. We have been growing, for instance, at 6.6% over the last 4 years. And this is a very good growth performance amid a difficult world where the trade war and the slowdown in Japan, the Europe area are affecting the global economic trajectory. Prior to COVID, we were likely to become an upper middle income country. Our inflation was low and stable. It averaged actually 3% in the last 4 years, despite the slightly higher inflation in 2018 at 5.2% because of the decline in the supply of rice and also the increase in the global oil price. In 2020, January, we recorded one of the best fiscal positions in the history with the highest revenue to GDP ratio and the lowest debt to GDP ratio. We also saw a significant increase in our infrastructure spending to close to 5% of our GDP. And all of these have been credited and recognized by rating agencies with a BBB plus to A minus credit rating. And what that means is not only is the government able to borrow at lower costs and give better services to the people, the private sector, the businessmen, households who have to borrow from the banks for your working capital, for your investment, for your housing loan or car loan are also benefiting from lower interest rates. We saw, largely because of our economic reforms and the Build, Build, Build program, one of the lowest ever unemployment and poverty and underemployment rates in our history. So these are the reasons why we think that despite of this pandemic, we are in a better position to address this crisis. This crisis is also going to test other areas of the socioeconomic development, such as equality. Many of us are in a better position to weather the crisis. We have savings, we have gone to good schools, and we will be able to weather this crisis quite well. But the majority of the people who are low income or poor will have a more difficult time, as evidenced by this cartoon that I'm showing. That is why one of our priority really as we work towards our recovery program is to ensure that everyone gets an equal opportunity. This crisis, this COVID, is going to widen the income inequality and other measures of equality. Those of us with houses, with cars, with internet connection, with gadgets can easily continue our work from home, to study from home, and to use our savings and our 2 or 3 bedroom houses to social distance if needed. But the poor, the low income will not have the same opportunity. That is why, apart from our concern for the economic and fiscal well-being, NEDA in particular is very concerned about the individual well-being. Today, we realize that we have to live with this virus. 6 months ago, we prepared for a 6-month transition following SARS-1, wherein by July or August, we will begin to see significant progress. But the reality today, as the experts tell us, as a global experience tell us, is that this virus is going to stay with us for a longer period of time. The vaccine may come next year or may come 5 years later. So we will have to do a bit of adjusting. Even countries which have initially successfully addressed the virus are seeing their second or third waves, as this Nikkei Asian Review article shows. 126 out of 188 countries are experiencing increasing infection. Even the best countries, such as in Europe, in South Korea, in New Zealand, are also facing this threat. So this will be a drawn-out struggle. We are in a marathon rather than in a sprint. And so the whole world is going to learn how to live and dance with this virus. And sometimes we take 2 steps forward. When the virus or the number of cases increase, we will have to take 1 step back, such as the imposition of the MECQ a few weeks ago. However, we should not forget that while we are concerned about our short-term benefits and goals, we also have our long-term goals to be concerned about. One of our biggest priority right now as we transition to a lower form of quarantine, whether it be GCQ or modified GCQ, is to ensure that we are able to first get more people to work. And how we will do this is by ensuring that the healthcare system is adequately supported so that people can go to work and be confident that they will not get sick, or if they do get sick, our healthcare sector can take care of them. The second important aspect is to address our public transportation. This Google data that you see here shows a significant decline from the normal or base case when we impose the ECQ or various forms of quarantine. It has actually improved starting May, June, and July, but it has actually become stagnant. The visits of people to public transport stations like the train station or the bus stations have gone down by 60%. We also saw that the number of people going to work has also gone down by 40%. Many of them are working from home, but also many of them have been unemployed or have lost their jobs. We also saw that the number of people going out for groceries and pharmacies have gone down by 30%. And all these give the government more reason to advance our recovery program. How we propose to address our present pandemic is a phased and adaptive recovery approach. We started in March to May with the emergency stage called the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act. The analogy was the Philippines was in the ICU of the hospital and is intubated. And we used Bayanihan 1 to provide the biggest subsidy support to the people and to workers and to the healthcare system. Congress recently ratified the Bayanihan 2. We are working with Congress on 3 more provisions: the Guide, the FIST, and the Create. The Guide basically is to support insolvent firms. The FIS is to free up the loanable funds of banks so that they can lend more to SMEs like you. And the CREATE is to provide more across the board lowering of taxes and tax incentives. And this is basically to address the second stage of our phased and adaptive recovery approach, which is the recovery stage, wherein the Philippines has recovered but is still in the hospital room receiving a dextrose. And as we work on the 2021, we will improve the resiliency and health of the Philippines, and we will use the next 2 years' budget and other reforms to strengthen and make the Philippines more resilient. Let me now go to the immediate recovery program, and this is comprised of three important aspects. The first is the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, or the Bayanihan 2, that the Congress recently ratified and is being prepared for the President's signature. The second is the continuation of our Build, Build, Build program, especially in the areas where it is much safer to do so. And the third is the preparation of the 2021 budget, which will prioritize the infrastructure, the health, and the priority sectors. Let me just give some highlight. After the bicameral conference, we saw the key provisions in Bayanihan 2 as giving around 140 billion to support the healthcare system, to support testing, tracing, isolation, and treatment, which are all crucial to boost confidence so that people know that it is safe to go out to work or to consume and to spur business activities. We will also support public transport, the critically affected sectors in community quarantine areas, and to provide up to 50 billion in capital infusion to government banks so that we can lend more to small businesses. And part of this is to provide low interest rate lending because of the liquidity infusion that we are giving, to provide interest rate subsidy, and also to provide credit guarantees, so that banks will be more open to lending to the deserving and firms where risk can be managed. In the coming weeks, we are working with Congress to have the guide and the FIS approved. So some firms are experiencing liquidity problems, and the solution there is to provide them loans with credit guarantees and interest rate subsidies. Some other firms are beyond liquidity problems. They are approaching solvency problems. So we will use the guide or ARISE, whatever the name will be, to provide equity support to strategically distressed firms that are important in our economic recovery. And finally, we are working also with Congress on the FIS that will allow the banks to dispose their bad loans and assets through a special purpose vehicle so that they can free up more capital to lend to micro, small, and medium enterprises, including those that are served by rural banks, co-op banks, and microfinance. Now, this presentation really is about how the government is addressing the pandemic under these two principles that I have shared a while ago. First, nothing is free from heaven and everything is a trade-off. What this really means is that there is no perfect solution. Many people would need support, and we will endeavor to support as many of you in partnership with the private sector. But please also understand that we will have to make the best judgment on what are the priority areas that we will have to support. What are examples of major trade-offs that we in the government, especially the economic team and NEDA, are trying to balance? As I mentioned, many industries are requiring support and help, but we will have to balance whether we support industry X or industry Y. We will have to also make a balance between helping the people cope today versus tomorrow. We would like to help as many people today. Our resources are not infinite. If this virus will stay for another year or 5 more years, then we will have to do that intertemporal balancing. We will have to do also a balancing between pursuing economic growth, which means having more stimulus, at the same time maintaining fiscal sustainability. Because as we saw in 1983 and in 2004, a very difficult fiscal position is not going to help our economic growth also. We will have to have a balance between fiscal stimulus compared to or alongside with monetary and financial stimulus. And we will do so both. In fact, in Bayanihan 2, of the 140 billion, 50 billion of that, more or less, will be going to the government financial institutions. And because of the multiplier effect of going through the banking system and regulatory relief that may be granted by the BSP, what we actually are providing is more than 900 billion peso worth of loanable funds. If the government were to lend that directly, that 50 billion is just 50 billion. But if we lend it or course it through the banks and have the banks multiply it and supported by regulatory relief, we can lend and provide 900 billion in liquidity to support. And the other question we also want to balance is whether with all this support that is not free, that will have to be paid by taxes. So the question really is whether we ask you to pay them today or we borrow first and ask your children or grandchildren to pay them later on. So the key question really in our policy making is to find this optimal balance. Let me end with three more requests for you to memorize, dream about, or apply so that in the spirit of working together, we can address this crisis more objectively. So apart from memorizing, dreaming about, or applying that first, nothing is free from heaven and everything is a trade-off, I would like to propose that we first know the facts before we engage in some discussion or debate. You can open your phone anytime and you will see many supposed facts or opinions. Some of them are helpful, some of them are not. So I invite you to be objective and to really think about it first before you engage in a discussion. The next one is to contribute solutions. Don't stop on what to do. That is actually the easy part that many of us have studied, but also focus on the how to do it. For instance, in March, many experts, specialists, and those who wanted to help told the government that you should help the poor and give wage subsidy. That is actually the easy part. The more difficult part is how do you actually do it when 70% of the people do not have bank accounts, when we don't have a national ID, when many people still do not have internet access, when our government database do not have a complete enumeration of the beneficiaries. So these are the things that we need to work together. And finally, to also share the good news. There are many complaints and we hear you and we will work to improve, but there are also actually many good things that you can also share. When you eat in a restaurant, you are served a bad food, you will likely complain 9 out of 10 times. On the other hand, if you are served good food, you will unlikely praise the chef or the restaurant 9 out of 10 times. So this requires really some balancing of our opinions, our thinking, so that we can collectively work together in this very difficult time of our lives to care for each other, to work together constructively, because this is a crisis that requires everyone's support. So with that, thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you very much, Study Carl Kendrick Chua, for that very inspiring speech. Let us always remember that nothing is free from heaven and everything is a trade-off. I think we should be guided by those things that was just shared by Secretary Chua. So may we ask our technical team to facilitate the virtual photo opportunity. This would be with Secretary Chua and some of our dignitaries or the officials of PCCI and CCCI in this virtual conference. Okay, I'd like to ask the following to join Secretary Chua to please turn on your video. Uh, our Area Vice President for the Visayas, Consul Sam Choson, President Felix Tagyam, the PCCI President, Ambassador Yuwiko, and Ms. Yunina Mangyo of PCCI. They will be the ones who will be joining the virtual photo op. Okay, thank you very much. I think we're done with the virtual photo op. Definitely there was social distancing because they are from different parts of the country. So let us proceed with today's agenda of the 29th Visayas Area Business Conference. This will be our first session, which will tackle the regional economic situation. For this portion, we have a session chair and moderator. So our session chair and moderator currently sits as chairman of the Regional Development Council 7 Economic Development Committee and is the immediate past president of the Cebu Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Let us welcome Mr. Virgilio Nonoy Espeleta.
Thank you, Nimrod. Session 1 will tackle on the economic situations of the Visayas region. It is a very fitting topic, especially we want to connect also the macro situation, as what we have already heard from Secretary Chua, as well as the insights and directions of our PCCI President, Ambassador Yuhiko. Now, we get to the bottom, we get to the ground, and remember, as Secretary Chua said, this is not a sprint, but a marathon. We have to work together because we are in the same storm. With that, we'd like to know the details and be enlightened about the initiatives, the impact of the COVID in the different regions, as well as the initiatives of the different region as far as maybe the economic recovery in the different regions. So today, we will be joined by RDC Chair of Region 6, Regions 7 and Region 8. We have invited Governor Gadyao to sit with us. Unfortunately, she is not available. So to start with, we would like to hear from Region 8, our RDC Chair, Honorable Leopoldo Dominico Petilla, is currently the governor of the province of Leyte. He's the chairman of Regional Development Council, Region 8. Governor Leopoldo Dominico Petilla is the leader in agricultural innovations that has driven villages and towns in the province to take agriculture and farming into a different perspective. It was all made possible through the education he received at Ateneo de Manila University, together with a degree in accounting at the Philippine School of Business Administration. His skills as a programmer and IT specialist earned him the ISO 27001, or the Information Security Management Standard for data security. In 2013, with the highest support and trust by his fellow Leyteños, Governor Petilla entered the political scene and ran unopposed for the gubernatorial seat of the province. He has vowed and committed to continue pro-people policies for the upliftment of the province, a trademark of the Petilla administration. His outstanding excellence in leadership led to his appointment as chairman of the Regional Development Council for Eastern Visayas from 2013 to 2016, and from 2020 to present, and sits as executive board of the League of the Provinces in the Philippines. Now on his third term as Leyte Governor, Mike, as he is fondly called by his colleagues and supporters, is steadily making his own mark as a service-oriented leader. His poverty alleviation campaign is realized through his Leyte Economics, or Mike Economics program, a poverty alleviation program through the development of a resilient, inclusive, and competitive community economy. Through this program, the province's poverty incidence shall be reduced from 23.6% in year 2015 to 9% in 2022. However, this pandemic has changed the numbers. So let us hear from Governor Petilla, our RDC Region 8 chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning sa ating moderator, Mr. Virgilio Espeleta. To our dear Ambassador Benedicto Yuico, ang ating president ng PCCI. Of course, and together with the members and the board ng PCCI. Of course, doon sa ating Honorable Secretary Carl Kendrick Chua of NEDA. Indeed, nothing is free from heaven. Totoo yun. In fact, it's very difficult to go to heaven. But very much doable though. Ang ating mga PCCI officers and members of the Visayas, mga regional governors, and officers and members of PCCI, ang ating mga chapter presidents and officers and members, men and women in business, fellow workers in government, ang ating mga guest speakers and visitors, a pleasant good morning sa ating lahat. Good morning. Maayong buntag kanatong tanan, ang Bisaya. Again, ang kuan lang, I will not speak long, but naatay kuan from NEDA, no? I'm given 10 minutes, so I prepared a video sa situationer ng Region 8 economy. But nonetheless, before I go to the video, I totally agree no sa sinasabi ni Secretary Carl Chua na it's really equality ang ano natin, no? We have to remember that people are our greatest resource. That yung ano na yan, yung mentality na yan, help us a lot in recovering very, very fast from Yolanda. Now, ang food security ng Region 8 is almost 100%. And with the One Eastern Visayas Food Security Plan, we can further push that beyond 100%. No? Malnutrition. Ang malnutrition rate natin sa region has gone low already, below the 10% threshold na sinet ng World Health Organization. You know, malnutrition. Poverty starts with malnutrition. That's why we really have to push our programs campaign against malnutrition in the region. And again, it's still people-based. No? Pag sinabi nating equality, we have been working very hard to push for equality, and some successes and some ongoing sa parts of the region. Ang dito sa Leyte Island and Biliran, ang problema natin sa insurgency has already been hindi lang reduced, talagang nawala na. In a lot of these parts, even a remnant ng insurgency wala na. And now we are working together with LCAC, ang program ni President Duterte, yung EO70, working towards doing that the same also in the Samar Island. So I think the goal is by next year, not next year, 2022, I think, na maging insurgency free na ang entire region. So coming in, no, we're coming in with a market with low confidence, unfortunately, a market that is poorer. But just like our experience in Yolanda, I think we can survive this and we can come back stronger than before. No, yan siguro ang trademark nating mga Bisaya, ang trademark ng mga waray-waray, no, hindi nagpapatakot sa mga kahit ano. No? So anyway, here's the presentation, ang ating mga statistics na binigay ng ating NEDA Region 8. So please go ahead sa presentation.
The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the Eastern Visayas economic landscape. In efforts to stop the further spread of the virus and save as many lives as possible, stringent restrictions were imposed. However, in consequence, these measures took a heavy toll on our economy. Let's look at a snapshot of the Eastern Visayas economy just before the pandemic. The region was on a growth trajectory as evidenced by the increase in its GRDP for the past 2 years. This growth was credited to the expansion of the service sector, specifically tourism, and the manufacturing subsector of the industry sector. Consequently, more job opportunities were provided as seen in higher employment rates. All these made an impact in reducing poverty in Eastern Visayas. Although still high, poverty incidence substantially dropped by more than 10 percentage points. This translates to around 402,000 people in Region 8 out of the poverty trap. Also, poverty incidence among families went down to 24% in 2018, implying that 2 in every 10 families in the region are poor compared to 3 in every 10 families in 2015. Overall, Eastern Visayas was gaining momentum towards the attainment of its twin regional goals of robust and sustained economic growth and reduced poverty and inequality in all dimensions. So how has this pandemic impacted our economy? In 2018, the region's booming tourism, which contributed most to economic growth, is one of the most heavily hit by the pandemic. Following President Duterte's declaration of an ECQ in Luzon in March, land, air, and sea travel were restricted. As of April 8, 2020, 64 tourism sites, mostly operated by People's Organization, have been closed in the region. Also, 248 tourism establishments composed of 197 accommodation establishments, 30 travel and tour agencies, and 21 tourist transport declared temporary closure, affecting 2,310 workers. Based on the 2018 tourist daily expenditure, Eastern Visayas' tourism industry is projected to lose 1.55 billion pesos in approximately 60 days of interrupted service. This is a reduction of about 3.6% or 42.76 billion pesos from the Eastern Visayas RDP 2017 to 2022 target tourist receipts for the year. Under the new normal, the impact of the disease to the tourism industry will continuously be felt as tourists may hesitate to travel. Put simply, as the pandemic goes on, the losses to the tourism sector will be significantly more than 2 billion pesos. Gains in the service sector could be lost with the disrupted operations of service industries, specifically tourism, which contributed 25% in 2018. The aviation industry is one of the heaviest hit by the pandemic due to both imposed restrictions and the consumer's fear to travel due to health considerations. In short, the aviation industry was paralyzed in the worst possible time, during the period where passenger traffic is expected to peak, the summer season. Even if restrictions are slowly relaxed, confidence to travel is very low due to the high risk of transmission. The imposition of CQs has not spared the industry sector as well, as several business establishments were forced to temporarily close. At the peak of the stringent CQ, between March 17 to May 18, approximately 66.2% of the business establishments have been non-operational. This means that more than 101,000 workers were affected or have lost their jobs. However, with restrictions slowly being eased in several parts of the region, businesses are resuming and workers are gradually reporting back to work, albeit expectedly, in limited shifts compared to the pre-pandemic conditions. Construction subsector, which contributed 27.5% to the sector's total output in 2018, may have been impacted during abrupt implementation of CQs. Curiously, the region's manufacturing subsector, specifically the strong export largely relies on the pasar exports, will buoy the industry sector. Meanwhile, the region's agriculture and fishery sector, growing at a negative 0.37% annually post-Yolanda, is also affected with this pandemic. Harvest in the second quarter, as well as historic low fuel prices, could bolster crop and fish production. However, this could be dampened with the occurrence of extreme weather disturbances, such as Typhoon Ambo, which made landfall on May 17 in San Policarpo, Eastern Samar. The losses incurred by the agriculture sector were estimated at 64.11 million pesos due to flooding in farm areas and has affected over 5,000 families of the Samar Island. On the demand side of the economy, due to home quarantine and less to zero income from disruptions, the domestic private consumption, which has fueled the regional economy by contributing 188% on average in the last 3 years, could weaken. In summary, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the sectors highly responsible for the region's growth in recent years, the service and industry sectors. The CQ measures prompted closure of business establishments, mostly MSMEs, suspension of classes, disruption of public transportation, cancellation of sea and air travel, as well as mining and construction activities in order to safeguard the public health security. The region's agriculture and fishery sector is also affected as farmers and fisherfolk were quarantined in their respective homes during the initial phase of the CQ. Thus, the COVID-19 pandemic is expected to result in a subdued growth of the regional economy as demand and supply shocks continue. Based on the data for the Balik Probinsya Bagong Pag-asa program, 20,000 individuals are set to return to the region. For a time, we may realistically expect unemployment to rise while these returning individuals are integrated into the region's workforce. As usual, our recovery will also be highly contingent upon the manner and timeliness of the implementation of the COVID-19 programs. Proactive measures as well as full cooperation of the people, such as observance of the minimum health standards, execution of business continuity plans among others, are needed. And of course, the availability of an effective vaccine. The future may be bleak, but as the saying goes, habang may buhay, may pag-asa. Let's pray for an effective and widely available vaccine. Thank you for listening and keep safe.
Thank you for that presentation, Governor Pitilla. Indeed, no, habang may buhay, may pag-asa. Sabi nga, serious but not hopeless. And we've noticed that the numbers beyond 2018, 2019, you put a question mark. So this is really our challenge today. And we'd like to discuss that in relation also to what the pronouncement of Secretary Karchua, as well as the directions of the chamber, how we can do this, how we can really turn around our economy, especially in Region 8. So with that, we'd like to move on to the next panelist, our next panelist. Mr. Kenneth Cobontue is the chairman in Regional Development Council of Region 7. He is a multi-awarded industrial designer known for his unique design, integrating natural materials with innovative handmade production processes. Mr. Kenneth is the only global Filipino luxury brand. Cobontue is the only global Filipino luxury brand with integrated design, manufacturing, marketing, and global distribution, all from his home in Cebu. In addition to his many awards and accolades, Time magazine has called him Ratan's first great virtuoso. He is currently serving his second term as the chairman of the Regional Development Council for Region 7, the only private person to hold the position. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mr. Kenneth Cobontue.
Good morning. Consul Samuel Choson, Area Vice President for Visayas of PCCI.
He is currently serving his second term as the chairman of the Regional Development Council for Region 7.
Ambassador Benedicto Yuhico, President of PCCI. Mr. Felix Tagyam, President of CCCI. Secretary Carl Kendrick Chua, Secretary of NEDA. Governor Petilla of the province of Leyte. Our PCCI regional governors, Ronaldo So from Region 6, Wilson Uy from Region 8, and my good friend Edward Du from Region 7. The PCCI Board of Trustees and other presidents of the Visayas Chambers, distinguished speakers and guests. I will present to you first the regional economic situationer for Central Visayas for the first quarter of 2020, including a background of the regions from Region 6, Wilson Uy from Region 8, and my good friend and growth drivers, Region 7, and overviews in terms of Board of Trustees and other presidents of the Visayas Chamber, distinguished tourism, commercial and construction activities. I will present to you first the regional economic situationer for Central Visayas for the first quarter of 2020, including a background of the regions from COVID-19 Regional Recovery Program, which was approved by the Regional Development Council last June 1, and my good friend in the Regional Interagency Task Force on COVID-19, and overviews July 11. Board of Trustees and other presidents of the Visayas Chamber, distinguished tourism. And lastly, we're presenting to you the region's first regional economic situationer for Central Visayas for the first quarter of 2020, including a background of the region's COVID-19 Regional Recovery Program, which was approved by the Regional Development Council last June 1, and my good friend in the Regional Interagency Task Force on COVID-19, and overviews July 11.
I think we have a technical problem.
Yeah, I think there's a delay, no? Or
there is a follow through audio. Technical team, can you please fix it?
Yes.
Yeah, better mute everybody. Those who are just listening, mute lang kung pwede.
Okay, maybe we'll try, no?
Hold on,
we can resume. Okay, thank you, Ken.
Yeah, let me just, okay. Sige. Okay, let's try this. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Yeah. So the region's economy grew by 7.6% in 2018, contributing 6.45% to the country's GDP. Now, Central Visayas is the fourth largest regional economy in the country with a value of 593.86 billion, contributed by the following sectors. Services is 56%, industries 39%, and agri is 5%. Next slide, please. The region's unemployment rate has been lower than the national average since 2013. And in terms of underemployment, the region has been lower than the national average until 2017, where it even surpassed the national average by 1.4%. The region is also one of the fastest growing economies in the country, propelled mainly by the BPO industry, tourism, retail and trade, and construction and real estate developments. This rosy picture, though, has changed with the pandemic. In terms of investments, the region suffered a decline of 63.5% from 7.89 billion in the first quarter of 2019 to 2.88 billion in the same period of 2020. In terms of unemployment rate, Central Visayas experienced a rapid increase from 5.3% based on the April 29 labor force survey to 16.7% in the April 2020 survey. And during this pandemic, the number of unemployed workers in Central Visayas increased from 174,000 in the first quarter of 2019 to 519,000 in the first quarter of 2020. The tourism sector has been one, if not the most badly hit sectors in the region, and the estimated foregone revenues from foreign tourists for the first and second quarter of 2020 is around 12.5 billion and 23.2 billion respectively due to travel restrictions. And accommodation has the highest loss, contributing 40% of the total revenues lost, followed by restaurants and food and beverages with 37%, retail and shopping with 16%, and local transport with 7%. As of June 30, 2020, a total of 9,519 establishments either adopted a flexible work arrangement or temporary closure, affecting 261,828 workers. More than half of the number of affected commercial establishments and workers are located in the 3 highly urbanized cities in the region, with 4,887 establishments and 166,097 workers. Likewise, the number of construction activities in the region decreased from 5,186 registered construction activities in the first quarter of 2019 to 4,722 in the same period in 2020. And this caused a drop of 33% in terms of value. Construction activities include both residential and non-residential construction, additional works, alteration and repair, demolition and moving, installation of street furniture, landscaping works, and sideboard installations. Note that the increase in number of activities for non-residential construction, alteration, repair, and all street furniture, landscaping, and signboard, yet this did not compensate for the value foregone in the same period. Possible reason for this is that the type and scope of these activities are smaller compared to the activities that were stopped. In response to the economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, the RDC spearheaded the preparation of the Central Visayas COVID-19 Regional Recovery Program, or the RRP, for 2020 to 2022. This was approved by us on the 1st of June 2020 during our full council meeting. This program was also approved by the regional IATF for COVID-19 on the 11th of July. So let me provide an overview of the RRP by presenting the following outline. The RRP provides a description of the affected areas and population. It provides an assessment of the effects and impact of COVID-19 in terms of agriculture, tourism, wholesale and retail, construction, mining industries. The responses are summarized through the Rehabilitation Recovery Framework, which I will be presenting later on. It then defines the new normal for the region and describes steps on how we can transition and move forward in terms of health, social, agriculture, ICT, construction, environment, and government interventions. It also presents a cohesive approach on recovery policies and strategies of the economy, as well as the investment requirements for each sector of the economy, including financing, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. And a list of programs, activities, and projects, or PAPs, is annexed at the end of the RRP. Consistent with the Ambition natin 2040, the long-term goal of the RRP is to have a sustained growth and development without compromising the health and well-being of the region's population. Its medium-term goals of having a healthy, safe, self-sufficient, adaptive, resilient, and protected communities are consistent with the Central Visayas Regional Development Plan. The outcome is derived from the health, social services, trade, commerce and industry, agriculture and fishery, services, and environmental sectors. These outcomes, coupled with proper support infrastructure, transport services, governance, and institutional mechanisms, allow for a seamless connectivity and timely and accurate information. Three sectors share the bulk of the investment requirements under the RRP. These are the social services, economic, and transportation, with the remaining shared among the government and environment sectors. 37.67 billion is required for the social services sector, which includes health, education, and social protection. A total of 34 billion is required for the economic sector. This includes the agriculture, fisheries, services, financial services, and employment assistance. Transportation requires a total of 36.96 billion, while environment and governance requires a total of 1.13 billion and 300 million respectively. And as a part of its recovery efforts, the following are the infrastructure flagship programs in Central Visayas. The new offshore bridge connector project between Bohol Panglao International Airport and Tagbilaran City Port, the Metro Cebu Expressway, the Cebu Bus Rapid Transit, and the Cebu Mactan and Coastal Road, otherwise known as the Fourth Bridge. Also included for IFPs are the new Bohol International Airport, the new Cebu International Container Port, the new Dumaguete Airport in Bacong, and Bohol Northeast Basin Multi-Purpose Dam. The following are unsolicited proposals included in the NEDA Investment Coordination Committee pipeline. The unsolicited operate and maintenance proposal for the new Bohol International Airport, the unsolicited build, operate, transfer proposal for the 50-year integrated development plan for the Mactan Cebu International Airport, the unsolicited proposal for the IT project for the city of Naga, Unlad Bayan Local Government Information System, and the new Cebu Monorail System. With our regional recovery program and our infrastructure flagship program prepared and in place, we in the RDC are optimistic that we can reverse the negative economic impact brought about by COVID-19 in due time. With God's grace, we will heal as one. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you very much, RDC Chair Kenneth Cobontue, and also Governor Pitilla. Thank you very much for sharing with us the economic situation in your regions. Now, let me perhaps start with a few thoughts. Prior to COVID, each region has contributed to the national economy. And I remember, I think I can pick up that Region 7 is the fourth contributor in terms of national economy. And in the COVID situation, you have presented the impact of COVID, especially in the economic side of it. Now, you also presented, I'm addressing this to Chair Kenneth, you also presented the economic recovery plan. And if I remember, it requires about 110 billion. Is that right? In the next 3 years, 110
yes.
billion.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah. So with respect to the pre-COVID economic level, what is that? What is that in comparison to the pre-economic, the COVID contribution, pre-COVID economic contribution? And maybe a follow-up question is, do you think that is enough?
Well, the only really way to measure this is actually through statistics, which unfortunately I discussed in fact with NEDA, and they have no way really of measuring in the region of the actual economic impact in terms of numbers, no, and how we can recover our losses even with the regional with this recovery plan. And I don't think that figure even exists nationally, where they can measure actually how much how much loss can we recover over the next 3 years.
Yeah, I'll have later a follow-up question on that
Sure,
with respect
sure.
also to the stimulus package and the Bayanihan.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll have a follow-up question on that. I go to Governor Pitilla, and this is very specific. You mentioned about your priority in terms of the human capital side. You talk about food security, nutrition. I think skewed to the food sufficiency and on the agriculture side. What are the LGU initiatives? Aside from, of course, there is a program from Department of Agriculture. Are there any LGU initiatives to support your thrust, the different provinces as well as the cities and municipalities?
Well, the Leyte Economics Program, it's as far as the Leyte province is concerned, it's really relies heavily on the local budgets, and with this signing of President Duterte last year of EO 70, which is a whole of the nation approach to end communist armed conflict, which is, again, ang region namin ay namumuna dyan. With that, it's not, instead of a military solution, the insurgency problem is now being solved as an economic solution na ang ginagamit. We're using economic solution. So with the national government prioritizing this economic development, hindi lang yung insurgency. It's not only the insurgency that will be resolved, insurgency problem, but also the poverty. Yung minention ni Secretary Carl kanina na equality, that is very important. For as long as we have inequality, mataas ang inequality, we will continue to have insurgency. So with also the Balik Probinsya Bagong Pag-asa program, which aims to bring development to the rural areas. So to create opportunities para sa mga population so that they won't have to go to populous areas just like Cebu City and Metro Manila. And in fact, if the people there have been there for a long time already, the Tenyos who have been there or those from Eastern Visayas have been there, if we have opportunities here, they might come home and decongest our big cities and reduce the risk of a pandemic, for example, ang nangyari ngayon. So with that, I think we have, I mentioned malnutrition, food security, I think we have a very good ahead of us, a better future ahead of us na nakikita natin dito sa region. In fact, the implementation of EO 70 in the province of Samar is on high gear. It's in high gear, and we have seen a lot of ating mga NPAs nagsusurrender. We have been seeing that lately, and ano na lang dyan na masustain yan ang implementation ng program. And again, that will lead to what ang Leyte experience kasi, hindi lang na ano natin yung insurgency because of the economic programs. It also led to higher average disposable income ng mga Diteños, which I think that is if there is something we can support or help our business sector, is to increase ang ating disposable income. Kasi nagiging attractive siya sa investments. So parang yan yung inaano natin sa entire Region 8 na maka-catch up talaga, maging balance within the region maging balance and development. And I hope sa entire Visayas maging balance din kasi ang Region 8 lagi ang nahuhuli.
Yeah, thank you very much, Governor Pitilla. I'll go back to you. It's very, very interesting to note. In fact, you mentioned about the returning Leteños because of the Balik Provincia campaign, and you're concerned also about this will add up to the unemployment. However, there is also a program, the agriculture program also. I think tomorrow we will hear from Secretary Dar about I know they have a huge budget, especially to focus on agricultural, food sufficiency, etc., and that is aligned with your thrust. No? The other thing also that perhaps LGUs can be empowered is how do you intend, if this Mandanas case is going to be implemented, you have the internal revenue allocation, how do we intend to really make use of that so that it can stimulate your economy? And I think this is a fresh source of capitalization. Yeah. So,
yes, it's. I believe that's going to be implemented. What I heard is it's going to be implemented on 2022. No, going. Unfortunately, I'm on my third term, but nonetheless, if the Mandanas, due to the Mandanas case, if the funds will be available now, definitely we can always expand ang ating implementation ng yung rate economics, which is really more on human capital development. No? You mentioned sa agriculture natin kanina na ang ano natin dito, it's not to build a stronger agriculture. We cannot just rely on farm-to-market roads, yung mga irrigations, mga inputs, but we have also to improve ang human capital, the ones who use these things, no? Yung mga tao gamit the farmers. So we have been, DA has been spending and ATI has been spending on the more training of our rice farmers, resulting to medyo nag-increase din ang ating productivity ng ating mga rice farmers, for example. Yeah. So we can invest that on human capital.
The upskilling side of it and the use of the technology, and in fact maybe collaborating also with the business sector so that there is going to be a collaboration on the business side as well as on the agriculture. So thank you very much. But I'll want one more thing before I forget. I think even if the allocation will be implemented 2022, I think Land Bank is already knocking at the doors of the LGUs. Hey, you can borrow money and make your internal revenue allocation as your collateral, as your so maybe just check on it. Maybe we can before you end your term.
That's a possibility. That's a possibility.
Yeah, I go back to Kenneth, Chair Kenneth. Secretary Chua mentioned about the several programs. We talked about the Bayanihan 2, and then Build, and then there's the 2021 budget. He talked about Guide, Feast, and many other packages. In your mind, what could be the role of RDC when these programs or funds will be downloaded to the different regions? The reason why I'm asking this is that I just joined RDC. This is my second year in RDC, and I said, all of the budgets, all of the programs emanate from the different regional agencies, and RDC is going to review, etc. Whether it's going to be like we'll approve it without arguing or what, but that is a requirement. We will approve it, and maybe some others even say we are a stamping pad. We approve its ceremonial approval, etc. But here is, we have been clamoring that the programs have to be strategic on a per region basis, and there has to be collaboration between different agencies. Now, when you download budgets from the national, normally it goes through the agencies. My question is, how can RDC assert that what you presented, the recovery program, in fact, I would say, because the situation is so fluid, that recovery program, perhaps on a regular basis, we need to approve what is really to be prioritized. 110 billion, and when this Bayanihan to funds will be downloaded, how can RDC play a crucial role so that we can effectively use the funds strategically?
Yeah. So that's a very good question, Noy. The RDC has always been a recommendatory body, and it's we, at least during my term, the RDC has been strengthened in Region 7. It's become very, due also to the nature, due to the people that we have, all our PSRs, people like you, Mr. Edu, who are very, we have, the RDC ceased to become like a rubber stamp, as in the past, where it was very easy to pass through projects. Now we have been more active to watch all the projects that go through our agencies. And in fact, at least in our region, the Presidential Assistant for the Visayas, Sec Mike Dino, has informed all the congressmen that no project will push through in the region if it does not have proper approval and thorough review by the RDC. This was a notice that he sent last month. I wish that we could have a stronger role, but the RDC does not hold money. So all we can do is recommend to the agencies and see to it that the proper projects are prioritized. So far in the last few years, our projects, the ratio of proposed projects to actually approved ones has been 40 to 60%, with some agencies even receiving 95%. And hopefully that figure continues to rise even during post-COVID. So for Bayanihan 2, I promise you that we will have a very, very active and watchdog RDC. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kenneth, because, as what Secretary Carl Chua, nothing is free. So since there is nothing free, we have to make use. We have to make sure. We have to be sure that whatever we will be paying today or postponing for our children to pay has to be put in good use. Put in good use. And I'm pleased to note that 40 to 60% is the approval rating, but that is, there is another 60 to 40% that is disapproved. Now, in the implementation is another side. The approval is one thing, the implementation is another side. I think this is where I'm coming also as a EDC chair in terms of the role of collaborating, converging, or in fact, making sure that all agencies will have a common, specifically strategic, thrust in the execution. Okay, so I think we have a few minutes. I can open questions to the floor. Are there any questions? And it is, another comment, it is also good that the chambers, different chambers, I encourage the different chambers to be very, very active in the RDC, because the sentiments or the programs in the chambers can also be, endorsed to the RDC. So that because RDC will have, a voice, especially on the policy matters and on the regional strategic thrust. This is where I think, well, our governor here, Edu, is also part of the RDC Region 7, and he's been also one of the very vocal private sector representatives. Do we have questions from the floor? I see a question from Pete Dilantar, addressed to Chair Kenneth Cobonte. I would like to ask the percentage of spending versus the budget allocated. Are there KPI that we can see or hear? The percentage of spending versus the budget allocated. That means, you know, what is the absorptive?
Yeah.
How much is being spent versus the budget? And I know that, you know, I hear sometimes government says, it's budgeted, we have to spend it. In the private sector, if it is budgeted and you can hold it and you can save it, we will save it. But sometimes I hear from the government sector, it's budgeted, so we have to spend it. Just a comment.
Yeah. I think the figures vary, you know, depending on the agencies. Now, I don't have the exact figures. Some agencies, of course, better performing than the others, but since they implemented the cash-based budgeting, for sure that figure has been higher, you know, in the last year. Those figures, if you want the exact figures for the agencies, they are with NEDA.
Yeah, I think my comment also on that is that if you have requested, we have planned for a certain program and budgeted it, and we fought for it, and then you're not going to execute it, you're not going to spend. The spending kasi is, you know, it's about execution. If you're not going to execute it, you are not spending, and so therefore, you know, that money could have been better used somewhere else. So I think we also have to make sure that these government agencies will have to plan well and execute the programs accordingly. Okay. Any other question? I have a suggestion here. A suggestion to PCCI. This is coming from Lester De La Torre. Suggestion to PCCI and all regional chambers. With the current deficits that the government is experiencing, the BIR are tasked to double time to raise additional revenues. Why don't we appeal to the sense of patriotism of everyone to contribute at least 20% additional tax that was paid from the previous year, with the trade-off of refraining from examination and leaving the business now to recover, and give them time to amortize it until the end of the year. I think this is about taxation. It says, because right now BIR is is also trying to look at collect whatever they can collect, and the inspection, etc. I think the suggestion of Lester is that everybody will just have to pay 20% plus and then leave them no inspection. Any insights about this? Anyway, that's a suggestion. Maybe the chamber will have to look at that. Another one from Peter Go. I think Balik Probinsya is the best solution, but the question is the incentives to attract both business, investors, and laborers. Yeah, this is a concern because if you bring people to the province but there is no economic activity, they will just go back. So any insights on this? Maybe Governor Petilla can share with us.
Yeah, as I've mentioned earlier, maybe the best incentive that we can give the business sector is a higher average disposable income of our people, which is actually happening in our province. And as a result of that, we have seen a lot of type of investments we have never seen in municipalities, kasi traditionally the investments really are focused on the cities. But here we are seeing multinational investments going into lots of our municipalities, So because of the strength of our agriculture, basically, that has increased the in the last 10 years, I think Region 8 was the only region that posted a growth in the number of farmers. I think in the last 10 years, the Philippines lost around 3 million farmers from 12 to 9 million. All regions decreased ang number of farmers except for Region 8. And we have inano lang natin ang agriculture to make agriculture more profitable to our farmers. And even ang ating mga former rebels are now very highly productive in terms of agriculture. Wala naman silang ibang pwedeng puntahan kundi agriculture. And yung binention din kanina na yung na-mention din kanina build. No? So with the higher disposable income, nagkakaroon ng more business activities, and again, it's very, very good sa ating mga businesses, even sa local natin na mga businesses. That's how I see it.
Yeah. In fact, this is not a standalone program, Balik Probinsya. There's got to be a collaboration with the different agencies. Like, for example, Department of Agriculture is encouraging really, development outside of the highly urbanized cities. And in fact, they are encouraging clustering of land holding so that it can be economical to invest in machineries, etc. That is being encouraged. And in Region 7, we are also working on looking at the agrarian reform beneficiaries to put together, and hopefully they can also form cooperatives to partner also with a big brother who is in the business, in the food chain, in the food supply chain, etc. That can be worked out, and Department of Agriculture can provide the supports. Instead of the dole out, this kind of support is very, very important. No? Yes. Then we also do the upskilling of people, on the farmers, etc. So Balik Probinsya is not a standalone program, and I think this is where RDC can really play a crucial role in making sure that this becomes successful. I have a question from June Montuerto. He's our past president of the Cebu Chamber of Commerce. Cebu's contribution to national economy is mostly from the service sector, which was the worst hit by the lockdown caused by COVID. The number of unemployed rising to 500,000 is very serious. I know Kenneth and the groups are working hard to help the 500,000 workers. Question: is there any program to help the SME to help them with their payroll, like what we see from the other countries trying their best to help jumpstart SMEs? Common problem now is that daily sales can't even cover payroll. Perhaps similar programs covering payroll can be considered to help build damaged service sector. Maybe Kenneth can share with us his thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think you would be in a better position to answer that, no? Being the head of the economic sector in the RDC. I think you had your recent meeting, right? Your subcommittee. No?
Yeah. Well, again, I remember there was a payroll subsidy, but that was only 5,000. That was way back in April.
Yes.
But that was one time, of course, through the SP Corporation. But for how many months? We're in our 5th month, specifically, going 5 months, etc. But that is really the challenge. No? MSE is going back to work. There are several billing statements waiting for them. One is rental. Number 2 is going to be the utilities that they have postponed paying. Number 3 is, of course, to buy the raw materials because they have not been, in operation. Number 4 is really payroll. Why? People going back to work do not have money. Walang pamasahe, etc., etc. Normally, they want cash advance, etc. But in the past 5 months, nagka-cash advance na yan. Marami na nagka-cash advance. So this is really our problem now. In fact, the 5th one is about the banks waiting also. There is a billing statement coming from the banks for the amortization of his investments prior to COVID. So these are many hurdles that a business will have to look at when he resumes his business. No? And we just hope that the stimulus package will also address that. Otherwise, perhaps that's why I asked Governor Pitilla about the role of LGUs also in augmenting, if not really as a driver really of the stimulus package, because all of this money coming from the national, when it is going to be distributed to the different provinces, you will only have maybe a speck of that.
Yes.
Maybe the chamber can also look at this as part of the issues and maybe some resolutions they can.
Yes. From what I know, under the Bayanihan 2, the biggest budget allotment actually goes towards MSMEs, particularly in the tourism industry, which is one of the hardest hit in the region. About 6 billion goes to the SB Corporation for loans to MSMEs. In fact, I think more needs definitely to be done for them, and don't know if we have anything in the RDC that is cooking in the economic sector to help them. But as far as I know, Bayanihan 2, the biggest part of the economic stimulus goes actually to the SMEs.
Yeah, on the side, actually, we've been talking with the city of the LGU of Cebu and trying to help them come up with a stimulus package where they can also borrow money from land bank. That's why I know Governor Mike that the era can be collateral. So that is something that we have to work out, and I think we will have to work together on that. That's why the role of RDC, the chamber, is very important on this. And he called the Cebu Chamber of Commerce, talking about Mayor Labelle. He called the Cebu Chamber of Commerce to help them, especially to craft the economic recovery plan for the city of Cebu. After being declared as epicenter, we should proclaim ourselves as the nucleus of economic recovery. So I think we don't have enough time, and I'd like to thank our esteemed resource speakers, Honorable Leopoldo Dominico Pitilla, Governor of Province of Leyte and RDC Region 8 Chair, our very own Kenneth Cobonte, Chairman of the RDC Region 7. And before we part, we'd like to request also for a photo opportunity, virtual photo opportunity. Please turn on. Okay. So technical, just let us know if we're done. Okay.
Done, sir.
So with that ends our session. Thank you very much. I'll turn you over to Mr. Nimrod Quiñones.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, IPP Noy, and also to our RDC Chair, Governor Pitilla and Kenneth. So that was our first session for today. And let's move on, as we will welcome the last presenter for today, who will share to us about the supply chain issues, initiatives during the COVID-19 pandemic. He is an associate professor at the National College of Public Administration and Governance of the University of the Philippines, a director of the UP Public Administration Foundation, and chief of party of the Regulatory Reform Support Program for National Development, better known as RESPOND. He also chairs the Export Development Council Networking Committee on Transport and Logistics, and serves as an advisor on transport and infrastructure to the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry Transport Committee. Let us welcome the Chief of Party of USAID RESPOND, Dr. Enrico Basilio.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, particularly all the chapters of the Visayas region, for inviting me to present to you this morning on issues that pertain to supply chain, as well as recent initiatives and government policies and regulations to address bottlenecks in the supply chain. Next slide, please. Okay, so in April, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, together with the Confederation of Philippine Exporters and Importers, as well as the Supply Chain Management Association of the Philippines, organized a forum on supply chain. There were a lot of issues that were raised in that forum, and what we did was to summarize them and consolidate in the form of a letter that was submitted to the Interagency Task Force in April of that month, April 17th. And other business organizations, like the Joint Foreign Chambers of the Philippines, the Management Association of the Philippines, and the like, also supported the recommendations contained in that letter. One of the key issues that was raised is the implementation of a moratorium on demurrage and detention fees that are imposed by international shipping lines, because it was pointed out that these charges are so exorbitant and are negatively affecting the cost of transport and logistics. Next slide, please. It was also pointed out that compared to other countries, the free time that is given to the Philippines, particularly to the shippers, the consignees, and the importers, are shorter on the average compared to other countries. Okay, so next slide, please. As a result of this, the Export Development Council gave a presentation to a small group on shipping that was organized by the Interagency Task Force to discuss the issues and come up with the solutions. And this group was chaired by the Department of Trade and Industry Secretary Lopez. Next slide, please. As a result of that meeting, the Department of Transportation issued 3 important department orders, very recent. The first one, Department Order 2020-007, directs all domestic shipping lines to provide at least 12% cargo space allocation, and were encouraged to extend at least 40% discount on freight for agricultural and food products per voyage. So this is to ensure that essential products like food and agricultural commodities are prioritized, and also the cost is brought down, okay, during this time of pandemic. The second department order, DO 2020-008, directs the establishment and creation of a Shippers Protection Office for the protection and assistance of shippers, both international and domestic, against unreasonable fees and charges imposed by international and domestic lines. The DO creates an office against unreasonable charges, and it's called the Shippers Protection Office, that will serve as a body where complaints can be filed by the shippers. So this applies to all complaints and issues related to the rates, charges, and practices and operations of international and domestic shipping lines in the country. During the forum, if I may just go back to that forum, it was pointed out that it seems that there's no single agency that is in charge of looking at the local charges being imposed by international shipping lines. And as a result of this, the response of the government is to create a Shippers Protection Office. Okay. And then finally, Department Order 2020-009, prescribing a minimum free time period of 8 days for cargoes unloaded by international shipping lines to reduce the demurrage cost incurred by the shippers. So from the average of 5 days that was presented in the previous slide, the department orders raised it to 8 days, no? So that there will be less penalties that will be incurred and imposed upon shippers. Next slide, please. Just this month, another order memorandum circular was signed and issued jointly by the Philippine Ports Authority, by the Bureau of Customs, the Department of Trade and Industry, by the Anti-Red Tape Authority, and the Department of Finance. No? Now mandating online filing, processing, and payment of port charges, cargo handling charges, and other cargo handling related charges, permits, and ancillary fees, including customs, taxes, and duties. So in this period where there's social distancing and face-to-face transactions are discouraged, this joint memorandum circular basically directs now agencies and even the private sector to do and transact online. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, when the lockdown was imposed, no, and a lot of checkpoints were also imposed, no, in different parts of the country, this somehow affected negatively the flow of cargoes. No? So again, this issue was raised to the attention of the interagency task force, and there was a resolution that was issued saying that the flow of goods and cargoes must be unhampered. And the National Economic and Development Authority requested our project respond to develop a supply chain analytics dashboard to be supported by an incident mobile reporter app to be able to gather information from the ground as regards bottlenecks that are being experienced, no, by transport logistics operators in the delivery of goods and essential products. No? So this dashboard is linked at the command center, and the incident reports are being distributed and disseminated to concerned agencies, no, for appropriate action. Next slide. So the incident reporter app is now available in Google Play, App Store, and if you want, if you wish, you can also download it at iatf-scan.net. So please do so. And if you are experiencing, for example, supply chain bottlenecks in your businesses, please use this app to report this so that concerned agencies of government can attend to these issues and problems. Next slide, please. We are complementing this effort with the regular webinars, no, on supply chain, focusing on various facets, no, of the supply chain. And this webinar is being done in conjunction with what we call the so-called Networks Hub, made up of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Philippine Exporters Confederation, Supply Chain Management Association of the Philippines, and the Export Development Council Networking Committee on Transport and Logistics. So we are sending regularly invitations to the local chambers of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry so that you can participate in these webinars. Next slide, please. Okay, so on the part of the Anti-Red Tape Authority, Respond is also extending technical assistance in the implementation of the program Nehemiah. This is the national effort for the harmonization of efficient measures of interrelated agencies. And the goal is to reduce regulatory burdens by 52% in 52 weeks, which is about 1 year. And 5 priority sectors were identified connectivity, which includes the construction of telco towers, housing and construction, food and pharma, logistics, power and energy. And just last week, the first meeting of the ARTA Logistics Committee for Nehemiah was held. And some solutions were offered by various government agencies to streamline the regulatory processes that affect these priority sectors, particularly the logistics sector. Next slide, please. Okay, so there are new issues that have been brought to our attention, and this has to do with the drainage fee at the Manila North Harbor. So we are analyzing this issue. This is very specific at the North Harbor, but of course, when you send cargos, when you have your cargos, goods transported to Luzon via Manila, at the port of Manila, then this cost will be incurred. So the issue right now is that this seems that the cost of cargo handling has gone up because you now have to add drainage fee to the cost. So the private sector is saying that, well, modernization is good, okay, but it has to redound to a lower cost too, but not the doubling of cost because of modernization. Then another issue was raised by especially coming from the gifts, toys, and houseware industry, saying that because many of their exports cargoes are being shipped through air freight, they're saying that the cost of air freight has also gone up. And next week, the small group on transport being chaired by the Department of Trade and Industry will meet and discuss these new issues. Okay, I think I'm on my last slide, please. Okay, so today we are trying to improve the supply chain and the logistics, and one area where we can pay more attention to is the improvement of our inter-island linkages. So while many, if not all, sectors of the Philippine economy is experiencing a negative growth, only agriculture sector is able to attain a positive growth. So we have to assist and support the agriculture sector, improve its productivity, increase its production by being able to distribute efficiently the output to the various demand centers of the country, so that there won't be any oversupply in supply areas and undersupply in demand areas because of the inefficiency in the distribution of goods and services. Okay, so with this, I end my presentation. Thank you very much again for inviting me to this conference. Mr. Moderator.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Basilio, and thank you very much, everyone. That actually concludes the first day of the 29th Visayas Area Business Conference. But before we bid goodbye and prepare you for Sulong Pilipinas later on, I'd like to do first a virtual photo op. Let's go back to the virtual photo op for our first session, IP Pinoy, together with RDC chairs Kenneth Cobonpe and Governor Pitilla and Area Vice President Sam Choson. Then after that, we're going to have another photo op with Dr. Basilio and all other panelists for this morning. So can we do that? Can we ask our technical people to prepare for the virtual photo op? Okay, are we done now? So let's have a photo op with Dr. Basilio, together with AVP Sam Choson, also CCCI President Felix Tagyam, and the other officials who also participated today, including the President of PCCI, Ambassador Yuiko. So we'll ask our technical people to do that. Okay, please give us a cue if we're done.
Okay na, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all our esteemed panelists and our officials of PCCI and CCCI, and also from the Regional Development Councils. So, okay, we hope you had a very insightful first day of this virtual conference. Please join us again tomorrow, same time, for the second day of the Visayas Area Business Conference. Well, this afternoon, there's also another very important and valuable part of today's program. That is the Sulong Pilipinas Regional Consultation. That's on your screen right now. If you want to register, if you want the link, it's on the chat box. So please feel free to register through our chat box. We have the link to Sulong Pilipinas Regional Consultation. That's happening this afternoon. So after your lunch, lunch is served, but in your own place, not in a hall. That's the new normal. So please enjoy. So stay tuned, and thank you all for joining us on the first day of the 29th Visayas Area Business Conference. We wish everyone to stay safe. Don't forget your mask, wear your face shield, and of course, observe physical distancing. We can all heal as one and survive this pandemic if we just do our share. Thank you, stay safe, and God bless.
Navigate your business through uncharted territories. Explore innovation and technological advancement. Learn from the government and the country's top business leaders. Transform to a high-income economy. Enhance enterprise performance. Leverage technology and innovate to advance. Improve your business during and beyond the pandemic. Join our two-day National Business Conference. We are the voice of Philippine business. The 46th Philippine Business Conference and Expo. Innovation at PH. October 7 to 8. Marriott Hotel Grand Ballroom.